Do you ever find it difficult to keep up with all of your stakeholders? Marketing requires collaborating across many teams, and communicating effectively is a must. In our last video, we talked about building a strong strategy. The next step is to turn it into action. Let's learn how Gemini can help you communicate your ideas, briefs, project manage your campaigns, and more.
You've just had a breakthrough brainstorming session, and your document is filled with brilliant ideas. But now you have to present them. How do you turn that wall of text into something visual and exciting that gets your team on board? Today, I'm going to show you how to use Gemini Canvas to instantly transform your words into dynamic, shareable content like infographics and web pages, all with a single click. Let's get started. First, let's generate some ideas. I'll ask Gemini to brainstorm a marketing campaign for a new product. My prompt will be, brainstorm impactful marketing campaigns for a new line of reusable smart water bottles. Okay, this is a great start. We have a solid text here, but it's not very visual. In the past, I'd have to copy this into another tool to create a presentation, but not anymore. This is the new Create menu in Canvas. It's designed to help you go from prompt to prototype faster than ever. It lets you transform your text into a variety of dynamic content. Let's try it out. I'm going to select infographic. And just like that, Canvas takes all of the text and instantly creates a professional-looking infographic. This is perfect for sharing in an email or a team chat to get everyone aligned on the new strategy. Now, what if I wanted to create a simple internal landing page for the project? I can use the exact same text. I'll go back, click Create again, and this time select Web Page. And there it is, a clean, simple web page outlining our campaign that I can share with stakeholders. How does this help you? First, it saves an incredible amount of time. You can move from idea to visual prototype in minutes. Second, it makes your ideas more impactful. Visuals are more engaging than text, helping you get buy-in faster. And third, it streamlines your workflow. You brainstorm, visualize, and create all in one interactive space.
As marketers, we know how important campaign briefs are. They align teams and help you plan so the vision becomes a reality. But writing one, that can easily eat up your whole day. If you're tired of chasing data and insights, putting the pieces of the puzzle together to make a cohesive strategy, let's change that today with the Gemini app and Canvas by connecting to your sources directly. Let's get started. Open the Gemini app and select Canvas, and start to bring all your files into the prompt. For example, if your team is planning a summer sustainability campaign, you might use Google Drive to pull in your meeting notes about the campaign, previous performance data, and a pre-campaign survey. This provides Gemini with the context it needs for the output you're looking for. Now, prompt Gemini to synthesize this data into a campaign brief with sections for goals, KPI metrics, audience, and channel strategy. While you can also do this with Gemini and Google Docs, Canvas helps you quickly collaborate and iterate with Gemini. Take this first draft as an example. Canvas is perfect for this early stage of writing and getting instant feedback. Let's ask Gemini to act as our creative partner. You can ask something like, review this brief and suggest ways to make the campaign goals more ambitious and measurable. Gemini gives us actionable suggestions right in line. You can undo changes or use this updated draft and edit directly. Now that we've used Canvas to brainstorm and refine, it's time to finalize. Export the brief to Google Docs. Docs is perfect for your final formatting, sharing with stakeholders for approval, and collaborative editing with your team. And there you have it. You started your brief in seconds and used your expertise to land the vision. We all know a solid project tracker is critical for a successful launch. But the real challenge is getting started with a plan, spending hours trying to map out who owns what, and tracking every deliverable across a ton of documents. That's where Gemini and Sheets comes in. Turn all that spread out information into a launch-ready project tracker in just a few minutes. With Gemini and Sheets, you can connect directly to your work in Google Drive to build a project tracker sheet for your campaign. Let's say you have a bunch of meeting notes with different teams where you've discussed the deliverables. You can attach your meeting notes from Google Drive. In this example, we'll grab our notes from talking with the creative, product, and social teams. With your files attached, prompt Gemini to create a campaign project tracker that includes deadlines, owners, and anything else you might want to include. And just like that, Gemini in Sheets reads all 3 docs and creates one master plan. Now you have a dynamic tracker since prompting in Gemini automatically creates a table. The best part is you can keep iterating with Gemini. For example, maybe you prompt Gemini again to add an additional column for status. So this is helpful for anyone as a source of truth on how the project is going. You can easily toggle the status or filter by team or owner. To make it actionable with your teams, share to collaborate with other people. As marketers, we're constantly juggling massive amounts of creative and copy, so staying organized is the key to ensure a smooth execution. With Gemini, you can do the manual work even faster so you can focus on the important stuff, like managing your campaign.
We've all lost countless hours to the daily grind, sifting through emails, juggling calendar and logistics, or tracking down approvals. Today, we're showing you how to automate that work with Google Workspace Studio. Studio is the place where you can create, manage, and share your own AI automation, or flow, in Workspace to handle those repetitive tasks. And the best part? Anyone can create these flows, no technical expertise required. In fact, you can create flows by simply describing what you want to do in plain language. You can access Studio right from your Workspace apps, like Gmail or Chat. Now, let's build a flow. Whenever my weekly team meeting ends, I want to translate our action items into Spanish and share them in our chat space. In the prompt box in Studio, I'll type 5 minutes after my weekly team meeting, translate action items to Spanish and post both versions in my meeting notes space. I'll click Create with AI, and just like that, Gemini 3 builds a multi-step flow for this task. It understood both my request and it built the automation for me. So how did it do that? Let's take a look under the hood. Every flow you build in Studio is made of 3 simple building blocks. First, there's the starter. This is just the trigger or event or schedule that starts your flow. For this flow, the starter is based on a team meeting, specifically our weekly team meeting, which was automatically detected from my calendar and added right here. Second, you have steps. These are the actions that happen after the trigger. Here, Studio created a Gemini-powered step that it extracts any action items from our meeting. And then it created a second step to translate those action items into Spanish. You can add more steps, reorder them, or delete them. Finally, you have variables. This is how your flow remembers and reuses information throughout the process. Let's look at the message in our final step, post in a space. See where it says step 2, action items underneath, and then English? That's a variable. And underneath that, Espanol, where we see the variable for step 3, where we ask Gemini to translate our action items. It's really all just connecting dots, no coding required. And with one click, we can turn this on. Now, shortly after our meeting ends, we get a message in our team space with action items both in English and Spanish. Once you understand these 3 building blocks, you can create flows to manage all kinds of tedious work. For example, you can build flows to auto-triage your inbox by analyzing sentiment and labeling urgent messages. You can prep for meetings by automatically generating a brief based on the invite and attached documents, or create custom replies to a form response. You can even orchestrate across other apps using pre-built steps like create a lead in Salesforce or update a task in Asana. The Discover tab is also full of ready-to-use templates for common tasks, such as when my manager sends me an email message me in chat. You can click a template, review the steps, and then just turn it on.
In marketing, do you spend more time managing campaigns than planning strategy? Updating teams and chasing approvals can be a major bottleneck, especially if you work across global regions. Let's fix that. Today, we're using Google Workspace Studio to automate these workflows with AI and speed up your collaboration. Let's see this in action. For many marketers, a campaign tracking happens in a sheet like this, Global Campaign Tracker. So let's say you're on a global marketing team using this tracker as a source of truth for the status of your campaigns with regional teams. With a few assets, it's manageable. But with 100+ rows, manually notifying every team when you have something finalized can be a huge time sink. And it can get even more complicated, like if each regional team has different priorities or will opt in for updates on different campaigns. In Workspace Studio, we can build an AI automation, or flow, for this. In a new flow, we'll set a starter for when the sheet changes and add it into our global campaign tracker. Then we can set the flow to watch out for when the status column changes to approved. Next, we can add an action to draft an email. We'll use variables from our sheet to automatically fill the to field with our regional contacts, the subject with the deliverable name, and the message with the asset link. Then we'll save and activate. Now watch. Back in our tracker sheet, let's find the Tide Walker launch video in our example here and switch the status to approved. Instantly, the automation runs. A perfectly formatted email is ready in Gmail drafts, addressed to everyone who opted in, or based on the email addresses in that sheet's row. With one click, you're notifying teams fast. Now it's easier to bridge a communication gap between marketing teams. This is just the start of what's possible. You can also use Workspace Studio to translate meeting notes or send yourself daily AI briefings and news alerts in docs. What workflow will you discover next? Let's recap. We started this lesson using Canvas in the Gemini app, a collaborative space to create and edit, which can help you quickly visualize ideas with your team. Canvas can also help you tackle the blank page. For example, turn scattered notes into briefs, iterate on the draft, then export to Google Docs to work with your teammates. You can also make project trackers in a pinch in Google Sheets, even if you're starting with messy meeting notes. Finally, tackle any repetitive task with Workspace Studio. Customize your own AI automation, whether it's for email, calendar, or approval logistics and more. No coding required. These are just a few examples of how to work more efficiently with Gemini to spark ideas on what might work best for you. Head on to the next video to learn more productivity tips.